Okay, we're going to explore the user interface of AutoCAD. This one here actually is not quite the way that AutoCAD will come up at your home. So let me just set it back to how we would normally come in. So, okay, so it'll look a bit like that. All right. So what we eventually I'll show you how to bring up some or display some toolbars and that sort of thing that the book will require. But let's just have a look at this interface here. What we have is a ribbon up the top, which is pretty standard with most software nowadays. A lot of you that might have used older versions of AutoCAD wouldn't have this. It would have just toolbars and pull-down menus. All right, so the ribbon is much the same. It's just a collection of toolbars, really. Where we in the older versions we had the draw toolbar. At the moment, it's been put into a panel in one of these tabs, and this is the home tab, and of course we've got the insert tab, and they have different areas within them. So this is the draw, the modify, and basically we use those two along with the object snap toolbar, which is not available in the ribbon. All right, so okay, so now how do we, well, the other thing is the menu. In the old days we had the menu still there, but it's not coming up automatically. So if we click on that little down arrow there, we can go down the bottom here and show the menu bar if you so wish. Don't have to. And to display the toolbars, if you want to have those on there, and I'll show you what they look like, you go to the View tab here, and you go to Toolbars, click there, go to AutoCAD, and just bring the draw one up. Now once you've done the first one, it'll lodge itself here, which is fine. And you can see the difference here between this and, for example, the home. All of these are actually in here. You can't see them because they're behind other things. Actually, this is much better here than it is over here. But for example, the polygon is hidden behind the rectangle, whereas it's not here. So it's usually advantageous for you to, sometimes it is advantageous for you to use a toolbar because you can see everything in front of you when you're learning, especially. Down here, we've got some other things hiding under here, all right, which actually some of them are not on there. But again, here we've got that was sort of what you need. Most of it is there. It's an additional command here, so they're not exactly the same, but they have their advantages and disadvantages. Now, the modify. Where's the modify? Well, if we right-click on this one now, rather than going through the view and toolbars, now that we've got one there, we can right-click and then turn on the modify. There it is. So that lodges over there. So it's basically all of this, all right? So including some of these, they're all sort of down there. And the other one, if I right-click, we're going to go for Object Snap. This is what actually sets us apart. Now, this one here normally will lodge itself about here like this. It's only because I've put it there before. That's for the Monday class. So if we click it here and drag it and bring it over, we can lodge it vertically. So just, or dock it is another word. So this is what actually sets AutoCAD apart, say, one of the things, from other software, like let's go as low as Paint, for example, that comes with Windows. And the other difference, of course, between Paint and the CAD software is that one is vector-based, the other one is pixel-based. All right. So when I draw a line, and I'll just click this, for example, and then I click here with the left mouse button, and I lift my finger off it. I don't hold it and drag it. Then I come up here and I click it again. I get a line. So all you remember is those 2 points that I've clicked, whereas a pixel will have a million pixels between the first point and the last point. So because it's a vector, it does recognize certain things. And if I turn my object snap on, it recognizes, for example, the endpoint of that. All right. So, and if it's not available, I can click it, the midpoint, and there's a midpoint. There is no midpoint. I can make it go there by clicking this, and that's accurate, an accurate position. More about that later. Enter to finish the command, or escape. Other thing you note down here is the status bar is not the same as yours as when you're installing the one at home. If I right click here, I'll set it back to how it was. Right click and use icons. That's how it comes in with the icons. All right. If you are learning and the book says turn ortho on, sometimes it's better to have the English words there. So if I right click, depending where you click, you get different sort of options, but they all have this use icons option. All right. If I click here, use icons. All right. So if I take that off, it goes back to the words. Again, you have a few more things turned on, but what I suggest you have on is possibly what I've got here to start with. Don't worry too much about all the others that might be on, especially this one here. This one here in particular is nice to have on, but it will conflict with one or two exercises we're doing in the book. So the book assumes that it's actually off. Anyway, I can work through with that with you at the time when that's an issue. All right, so I usually have that off, but it's up to you. All right, so that's, and then when the book says turn ortho on, you can just click on the ortho and turn it on. There are some shortcuts, F8 for ortho and F3 for object snap. The function key, F3 for example, will turn off and on the object snaps. And anyway, what's ortho? While we're at it, if ortho is on, if I click the line command or press L, enter, so it's another way of issuing the line command is to use shortcuts. L for line, or as you can see, it automatically comes up with options once I type in L. Well, I could type in the whole command if I want. That's not how you type it. Try again. Line. All right. So that comes up and enter. It doesn't know when I finish typing anything, so always enter. That's one of the important sort of rules to remember, golden rules. When you type anything on the keyboard in CAD, you've got to press enter. And a lot of people make the mistake of not reading what it's asking them. That's telling me specify first point. So I got to read what it says. So that sort of, sometimes it doesn't make much sense, but at least it's better than nothing. So if I click here, it says specify next point. Okay, well, okay, this is what it's doing now. I'm only allowed to go horizontally or vertically. That's because I've got that ortho on there. So I can only do that. If I turn it off, I am able to rubber band around and go at any direction. All right? And that's one way of drawing a line on an angle. But there are other ways, and you learn that in the book. This is not the aim here. The aim is to show you the interface. One thing you need to know that's very important is your mouse. So when I'm clicking here and picking the line command, I'm using the left mouse button and the left mouse button to begin. It'll tell you if you in the book if you need to do right click, for example. So there's a number of ways of inputting commands, and one way obviously is this and this. The other way is typing. There's the menus up here, draw. Right, it's another way, a bit obsolete and old. And another way some people do for modification commands as well is click on something first and right click and issue a command. The book is approaching it more from the way of issuing the command first, then selecting something, but you can also do it the other way around. Just the prompts might be back to front a little bit than the way you're used to if you did it the other way. All right, so just be aware of that. Okay, so ooh, this is a bit of a worry. This escape doesn't work. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so where are we? We've done that, we've done that. We talked about this down here. All right, what else do we need to worry about here? Okay, well that's basically the interface. You can actually dock this as well. You can click it and dock it down here, so it's up to you. And you can actually make this then bigger as well. Another way of accessing what you've done so far is pressing F2, and they give you a history of what we've done so far. And I will use that sometimes to check over what you've been doing if you've got some problem perhaps. So to close that like that. And what else? Another thing to be aware of, we here have a thing called model, and that's where we've been drawing stuff, but you can actually there's another section called the layout, which is actually another word for it is paper space. This is model space, but this is paper space. And it's usually white, and this is basically where we come to assemble the sheet and print it. Okay, so we don't, in the first instance, when you open up your first exercise, we don't work in there. So let's go back to the model. And the other thing we talked about briefly beforehand is how to save to previous versions. We've got a couple of minutes. We'll go through that very quickly here, and that'll be the end of that. Let's have a look. If you go to the big A, the application menu here, by the way, I've forgotten to mention here, we have the quick access toolbar. So that's got some quick commands for saving, undoing, redoing, and that sort of thing, printing here. All the general Windows commands work as well, like Control Z for undo. All right, so let's go with here we have options. And if you want to set it so you save to a previous version, either at work or you've got another version at home, you can go to this section here and go to save. And click this here to save to say whatever you want, 2000, 2004, whatever. While you're here, I also like to do this for me, and this will make more sense later on when we're doing third angle projection, doing elevations. It gives you, if I make the crosshair 100%, it will give me this. Some people are not used to it, but I find it useful to line things up so I can see that my for example, a floor plan or top view lines up with my bottom view, or across to my right hand side view. Sort of, I can, just by eye, I can sort of quickly see if things line up very quickly. So I use a 100% crosshair by default, personal opinion though. So that's that there. Okay, the other thing now, the book, which is this thing here, will ask us to start off with a drawing, and that first drawing that you need to open, it's somewhere in here. We won't waste time looking for it, but there's an instruction in here to start that first drawing. So that drawing, I'll show you where it is. If I'll open the drawing, and that will come with you. You have it on your USB, or you can download it from the Moodle, TAFE, the engineering site. So let's go to open. For me, it's saved on my L drive at this point, so I'll just navigate to that for a minute under the student share, and it's under manual CAD. That's the first CAD file that we are going to open up and start working. And one of those is the spanner that you have to complete and submit, along with some other ones in here. But there will be a step-by-step instruction of how to what to do here, and that's coming from your CAD manual. And at that point, I'll leave it there, and we'll continue at another session.